Welcome to the recap of Croatia Blitz Day 1 Grand Chess Tour. So this was the day where Garry Kasparov played in the Blitz. You can see here in round 9, unfortunately he played very poorly. So in terms of results, what do we have in the standings? In the standings, Nepo is currently leading with 17 points and Maxime Vachier-Lagrave is second at 16.5. That's the combined standing. As far as the Blitz Day 1, we can see that Maxime Vachier-Lagrave won the Day 1 Blitz 6.5 points out of 9. Nepo did well, finished second with 6 out of 9. At the bottom of the table, unfortunately, legend Garry Kasparov only has one draw against Giri and lost 8 games, so could not compete at the elite level. Let's look at the highlights now. In round 1, Jordan van Foreest with white played against Garry Kasparov. Knight off there, bishop g5 is the main line, f4, and here the classical way to play is to play queen b6 to go for the b2 pawn. And instead in this tournament, Garry had prepared queen c7. Now white took and played queen f3, and Garry played this position 3 times and lost 3 times for the same reasons. So, going on in the game, eventually they reached the critical position over here. So you can see that the king did not castle, the queen has infiltrated, and this is white to play. So here, Van Foreest played rook g3, the rook lift, trying to attack. So Garry defended here, rook g3. Now Garry played rook f7, and he was very short on time. He played very slowly. And here, the killer move. What did white play? Rook g5. Of course, you cannot take here because you're going to have checkmate on f7. So the queen move. And here, bishop take h5 and black resign. You're threatening here. And if you were to take, let's say, over here, you can simply, take here. If the king tries to escape, you continue the attack. And you have a winning position for white. So after bishop takes h5, threatening checkmate, black resign. The next game I like to showcase is the heavyweights MVL white against Nepomniachtchi black. You can see they play a Sicilian knight off. So Nepo is playing a knight off, but MVL's favorite weapon against e4 is exactly that Sicilian. So what did white play here? White decided to go for bishop e2, which is not the most aggressive continuation, and if I played a9 b3. This is a quieter variation. Let me just show you now a picture of the actual game. After the game, they analyzed, and that was a spectacular game. Here is a critical moment of the game, black to play. So white is attacking d6, and a normal move would be to defend here. But Nepomniachtchi with black didn't like that white would take a pawn here, but it doesn't matter. You can play like that and eventually capture on d5, and that position is playable. Instead of defending the pawn on d6, Nepo played queen b5. So he wants to defend b4, and he's giving away d6. So MVL said merci and took there. Bishop c7 played, and MVL said, well, I'm gonna sack, and he's sacking the exchange here. Okay, what's the next move for white? d6, pushing the passed pawn. Bishop retreats. What's the next move? MVL going for the kill. d7. Rook moves, and now white to play. What did Maxime Vachier-Lagrave calculate in this position? The answer, knight takes e5, another sack. So now the queen is attacked. If you were to take the bishop here, check, and after the king moves, you simply have queen f8, checkmate. This is game over. So instead of that, Nepo took here, white took the queen, of course. Knight g3 to avoid the background checkmate. then played c4, the rook retreat, and after queen e3, black resigned. Of course, you're gonna come here, and black is not having enough compensation against the queen here. So, absolutely great victory by MVL against Nepomniachtchi in round 4 of the Blitz. Next highlight, Vachier-Lagrave white against Duda black. So this is very interesting because this is a clash of generation. Anand is the second oldest player after Kasparov in the tournament. Duda is a Polish fighter, up-and-coming grandmaster from Poland. So here they play a Caro-Kann, and Anand is playing e5, a very aggressive continuation. After bishop f5, he's going for h4. So clearly, he's setting up a fairly aggressive setup here. Now, let me bring you to the key moment of the game. That was on move 25, white to play. What did the legend Anand play in this position? Well, you can see that he has sacked material because he has 2 pieces for the rook, but here he had calculated knight g5. So very straightforward, coming here and checkmate here. So Duda replied g6. But what is the problem with g6, right? And Anand showed that black is actually busted here. Check, king move, 97, and you have a fork, and after this Duda just resigned the game outright. Very impressive performance by Vachier-Lagrave. The last game I like to go over is Garry Kasparov white against Jan Nepomniachtchi black, played in the round 9, the last game of the day. So here d4 knight f6 played, and we'll show you an actual snapshot. You can see Gary trying to fight, and Nepomniachtchi just played knight f6 and is pushing on the clock. So now the game was a very short one, unfortunately, and they played a Nimzo Indian here. Kasparov went for knight f3, Nepo played d5, transposing into a queen's gambit, and here Garry Kasparov chose bishop f4. But as you can see in the game, bishop g5, pinning the knight was better. So Nepomniachtchi went on e4, and after e3, he went on the attack, g5, attacking the bishop. Bishop g3 played, h5. So he's trying to capture the bishop on g3. The bishop g3 doesn't have a lot of squares. Now, if you were to play h3, to try to remove the bishop, then black would take, bishop d6, and you're attacking g3. So instead of doing that, queen b3 played. So now what happened in the game was black taking over. And here, of course, you don't want to play h4 because the pawn on d5 is hanging and white would take with the queen. But simply c6 first, consolidating and protecting d5. Now h4 is the threat. So Gary did not play h3 and moved the knight here. Take, h4 played. So Gary's idea was he wasn't about to lose the piece. He's moving on d6 because that knight on e4 was guarding d6. But now because the knights were exchanged, you can play bishop d6. But Gary missed an important detail. Queen f6. And that move is very strong, played very quickly by Nepo, and is attacking f2 with check. In that king on d2, he's in a very precarious situation. Bishop retreats, queen f2 check, bishop e2, and very quickly Nepo played knight f6 because the knight is going to e4 with check. And Gary was very slow, was sometimes spending 30 seconds or a minute on the move, and he was behind the clock. So here he tried queen b4, and he's threatening checkmate on e7. So that is a serious threat, but knight e4 check, king moved, c5. And in this position, Gary threw the towel and resigned. So let me explain why he did that way. The first move to consider is check here, and if you take on b7, bishop a4, check, and you have black winning on the spot here. So you cannot do that. The other move on c5 was to take here. But then black would castle. And let's say you play a move like rook e1. Then queen g2 is coming. Bishop g4 is coming. That king here in the middle will not survive very long. So Garry had enough. And Nepo scored the pawn with black in actually 18 moves. I hope you enjoyed this recap. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.